BeakerBeat.
It's Monday, June 20th, 2011. In this week's BeakerBeat, Johnson & Johnson pulls an Oprah and quits on a multi-billion-dollar market. Find out why. Plus, David Hasselhoff, soccer, bad haircuts, access to new drugs and devices faster. The Europeans have it better than Americans, right? Or is that just a myth? We take a look at that. And a life sciences top dog joins Twitter. Hope it doesn't turn creepy and naughty, if you know what I mean. All that and more in this week's edition of BeakerBeat, brought to you by Allergan. To learn more about Allergan, visit their company webpage on Beaker.com. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's edition of BeakerBeat. I'm Mike Justice. Thanks for tuning in. We're here at the North Carolina Museum of Art to get a little culture after spending a couple weeks on the golf course. So we'll take you around and show you some of the outdoor works of art. But first, here's this week's top story. A landmark moment in medical devices occurred last week as Johnson & Johnson announced its plans to leave the market for drug-coated heart stents, a market it pioneered in 2003 with its Cypher stent. Fast forward less than a decade, and its Cordis unit will stop making the Cypher and Cypher Select drug-coated stents by year's end. The move will slash as many as 1,000 jobs, close 2 factories in Ireland and Puerto Rico, and result in a $500 million charge against earnings. J&J used to be the world's leading maker of stents, but has lost ground to Boston Scientific and Abbott Labs in a $4 billion a year global market. However, competition has dragged down prices, and J&J has spent years in court battling Bosai, Abbott, and Medtronic over intellectual property in the field. Cordis sold $627 million in drug stents last year, down from $2.62 billion in 2006. Cordis will now focus on diagnostics and non-cardiac stents. We have much more on this story on Beaker's blog. I don't know, Jeremy. That thing looks like it was cobbled together by some carny folk. Can't quite tell what's going on there, but it's shiny. Anyway, tell us what you think about this story or any story that you see in today's show. Very simple. Click on the orange button below me. Box will pop up. Type in your comments. Send it to me. I promise I'll read and respond to every one of them. And if you know what this thing is, let us know. Because we don't. And when you're done watching BeakerBeat, check out Beaker's blog, where we also examine the danger posed by computer hackers to the medical device industry. Plus, check out all the video highlights from the ASCO meeting in Chicago. Those stories and more on Beaker's blog. So, Jeremy, I don't know if this is a Lord of the Rings thing or like a Stargate thing where you have to go through and get into another dimension. So I'm going to have you try it. Where'd he go? I need a shooter. It's ridiculous. That guy's lazy. Lately, there's been much debate about Europeans getting new drugs and medical devices quicker than Americans. In fact, there was a hearing on Capitol Hill on that topic just recently. But is it truth or myth? According to a new study in the journal Health Affairs, it's just like dental care in England, a complete myth. Investigators from Friends of Cancer Research crunched the numbers on 23 cancer drugs okayed in both the U.S. and Europe and found that each debuted in the U.S. first. And the FDA, often criticized for being slow, actually took only half the time European regulators needed. At the EMA, an application took an average of 350 days to review ahead of an approval, compared to about half that in the U.S. The researchers noted that there were some limitations in the study, but also added that U.S. and European regulators have been collaborating on their expectations for clinical trials to help streamline the development process. Hey. Where you been? Been looking all over for you. We got work to do. It's time for quick hits. Let's go.
Are you the doctor?
Lazy. Bristol-Myers Squibb's potential new blockbuster Nulogix has been approved by federal regulators. The drug is expected to offer a better way to prevent the rejection of newly transplanted kidneys. Analysts estimate peak sales ranging from $350 to $500 million. Another recall for J&J, and it seems to be related to those chemically treated wood pallets. 5 lots of the HIV drug Persista are being recalled after consumers reported that same old musty or moldy odor. U.S. regulators have warned that Pfizer's stop-smoking drug Chantix can boost the risk of cardiovascular problems, including heart attacks. After reviewing data from a clinical trial, the FDA says it's changing the labeling on Chantix to incorporate new cautionary language for patients with heart disease. The independent study showed Chantix was effective at helping patients quit smoking for as long as 1 year, but the patients were also more likely to have a heart attack or another cardiovascular complication. Serum Institute of India's vaccine for meningitis beat out pricier alternatives from other vaccine makers, including GSK. Researchers found that 4 weeks after treatment, 96% of children who'd received the less expensive shot had high levels of antibodies in their blood, compared to 64% of kids who'd been dosed with GSK's vaccine. Best of all, the cheap vaccine, called Menafravax, costs just 50 cents per dose. North Carolina's state legislature has pulled a proposal that would have protected drug makers from liability lawsuits over FDA-approved drugs. The provision was yanked from a pending bill and sent to a study committee, meaning that the soonest it might be revived is 2012. Abbott Labs' victory in overturning a $1.67 billion patent infringement verdict initially won by Johnson & Johnson will stand. The U.S. Court of Appeals denied a petition to reconsider a February 23rd decision that threw out the biggest patent-related damages award in U.S. history. J&J had claimed Abbott's Humira arthritis drug infringed its patent, and the appeals court said the patent was invalid. GlaxoSmithKline has shelled out about $38 million to purchase the remaining stake it didn't already own in its joint venture with Shenzhen GSK Neptunus Biologicals. The British drug maker first established the pact in 2009 and later expanded its share to 49%. The amount Spain's public hospitals owe drug companies rose 11% to $7.5 billion in the first quarter of 2011. Spain is among several European nations struggling with healthcare costs. Well, I got to tell you, that's quite the rear end. Don't know what to make of it, but it is a big one. Speaking of ends, here's this week's final story. The allure of social media is powerful and can also be wrought with pitfalls. Exhibit A, Congressman Weiner and his Weiner getting him booted out of office. Not to mention the thousands of other examples of celebrities, athletes, and public officials saying something that comes back to haunt them. This is part of why many big players in the life sciences biz have avoided jumping into the fray. From the outside, it looks like nothing but trouble. But now, perhaps the ice has been broken. Omar Ishrak, the new CEO of Medtronic, has done something no CEO has done before. He opened a Twitter account. The news was released by Medtronic's corporate Twitter account. His first tweet goes like this: "Thrilled to be leading an amazing company with such a powerful mission. Engaging with our customers and global team. A great start." Well, he's no Congressman Weiner, but that's fine by me. I guess we'll have to wait and see if his tweets get a little more interesting. Beaker's advice? Just keep your pants on, Mr. Ishrak. Well, that's it for this week's edition of Beaker Beat. I'm Mike Justice. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week. And now, Jeremy, I think it's time to go eat some lunch. Got a hankering for rump roast for some reason. I don't know why. Good. Sit, Beaker. Sit. Good dog.